Excellent. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hey, very well. Thank you so much. There we go. You had a little code name going on.
Oh, no problem. I've been here all along, but I realized that you were expecting to see me with my own name, right? Instead, I decided to join this I'm at the office. I'm at the beautiful San Francisco John Catalyst office, and I thought it would be better to do it from a meeting room instead of just, staring on my computer screen. And Michael, thank you for inviting me here. Very grateful for the Start community and for Vanda who'll be sponsoring this episode series. Looking forward to an awesome conversation.
Amazing. I'm so glad to see you. I think the last time I saw you was 4 years ago in San Francisco, and you always are kind enough to bring the StartNet code into the offices and tell them a little bit more. And so I'm excited to dive a little bit deeper. Um, All right.
Lovely.
Well, I'll introduce Nico to give everybody a bit of context, and then we're going to go deep into Nico's story. You've got the agenda here as well. We'll spend roughly 10 to 15 minutes on each segment. Nico has Greek origins, moved to the US, attended Stanford. He tried his own startup, a social network. That was a couple of years after Facebook, from what I heard from your story. Joined General Catalyst 14 years ago now and quickly invested in some awesome startups, including Snapchat and Discord, which everybody would know. And including General Catalyst has just led $150 million Australian dollars round into one of our StartNet alumni called Backcrowd, which we're very excited for. Um, all right, Nico.
We
Number
love
one.
Australia. We love founders who are ridiculously ambitious from anywhere. Australia, we love in particular because two companies we have in common, with you all, Background and Canva, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Canva, we were later to the party. You guys were the visionary investors who saw it from very early on. But oh my God, what have they accomplished?
It's pretty
And we
incredible.
invested back in the day in BigCommerce. We have invested more recently in Karma, BuildKite. Yeah, we have almost like 10 companies in Australia right now. And
Oh,
we're
yeah, right.
eager to do more.
Love it. Well, this is definitely going to be a topic of conversation for today. But before we jump into Australia, I love to understand your mindset a little bit more. I saw in your Twitter bio, you say you are obsessed with technical founders building products for themselves. I'm kind of curious, like, is that still true? Has your mindset changed over the years, and why is that?
It's definitely true. It's been the case for the last couple of years. And there are several reasons for that. First reason is startups have the following set of advantages over other companies: speed and focus. And I've noticed from experience that if you have everyone on the team be technical, meaning on the building side, the chances of having multiple shots on goal uh, with the limited runway you have from your pre-seed, seed, or even Series A money are much higher. Secondly, I've noticed that as we come into early pre-seed, seed, or early A, the vast majority of the investments we make, the first idea doesn't work, either because it's not the right timing or because the founders don't love it as much. But I've noticed technical teams, especially fully technical teams, have a much quicker ability to jump onto the next idea versus teams led by business heavy, like founders. Like those folks would need to spend a lot of time thinking about a new idea in extreme detail before they actually, start building and testing things out.
Yeah.
Um, Thirdly, I've noticed that teams that are fully technical have a much easier ability to recruit other smart technical folks who want to work with other smart technical folks. And, in a world of um, technical talent being hard to be recruited and retained, this is an amazing asset that your company can have.
And
So
have
for all reasons, I do love investing in technical founders building for themselves. Last one, I do tend to invest a ton in first-time founders, and as a result, many of them are on the younger side. So when you're on the younger side, you're inexperienced and you also don't have a network. However, if you have intuition for the customer, because you yourself are the customer, chances are that your ability to build a better product are higher. Chances are that you knowing somebody else like yourself, like a friend of yours, who could be a good customer for whatever you're building, are higher. That's another reason why I like that crowd.
Yeah, I love it. And how do you think about someone building with low code, no code, or even with AI? Like, has that changed your view a little bit, or does it still stand true that technical is always better?
I'm a little bit biased. I think technical is always better. However, my definition, has broadened a bit. So sure, if you have three founders or like four founders, it's okay if like, not all four of them are like coding, but I think all of them should be a builder. Like if one of them is a product person or a designer, but they're not coding or they're using some of the new tools that have popped up, that's fine.
Yeah, cool.
I just don't love it when I see, like a seed state team, they have a COO and a CFO. And I'm like, Jesus, what's going on? Or I hate it when I see, like a seed state team, especially with first timers, they have a chief of staff or they have like a head of business development. Like what planet are you guys living,
Love it. Um, Actually, let's go back to your early investing days. I listened to quite a few podcasts with you on my run in the last kind of couple of days. And when you started at GC, you described your time as it was like you were in Disneyland and you were just exploring so many companies. You were looking at YC companies. And one of the stories I loved so much was that you were literally looking through the App Store for interesting ideas. And this is how you started investing in consumer as well. So my question was actually like, do you still check the App Store? And if not, then how do you find great consumer companies now?
Yeah, good question. I had this aha moment in my very early days of GC that, frankly, as a new VC at the time, back in 2010, 11, I didn't really need to know anyone who could introduce me to amazing founders on the consumer side. Why is that? Because the vast majority of the most interesting consumer founders at that time were building on mobile. Very few big companies were building for the app stores. And by the way, I could actually see what products consumers really like because the app stores are architected in such a way where you can see which products are getting the most downloads. And at the time, quite a few of them were also paid. You could see which were the ones that consumers were paying money on. This is before iOS subscription or in-app purchases, the way we know them, today. So it democratized venture capital investing, in my opinion, and nobody's like me at the time could cultivate developers who very often were young millennial founders, so more or less same age as I was at the time. And the response rate was pretty good. Do I still check the App Store to do the same? I actually do. But this is more because, it's an addiction, to me that somehow I haven't found, the cure for it. Do I do it every day? I don't do it every day. Do I do it every week? Yes, I do it every week. Do I ask other people at GC to do it every day as I used to? I do it? No. We don't really have anyone, who's obsessive, compulsive about that stuff because the App Store has changed. However, I spend a lot of time now on TikTok and Discord because these are the places in today's world where if you're a consumer founder who knows how to speak TikTok or knows how to speak Discord, you can make it rain. You can get to have hundreds of thousands, if not like the first few million of users or customers, hear about your product and sign up for free. And that's part of my information diet. 15 minutes every day, and I try to time it. I'm on TikTok to see what's going on, and then I spend some time on Discord as well.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna dive much deeper into consumer in a second, so hold that thought.
Sure.
But I love this Disneyland journey of your early investing. Another principle that you talk about, which I loved because it resonates so deeply, is the maximizing for serendipity. And the line as well that you said is like you're only one relationship away from greatness. And I love that one so much. Tell us a bit more about that and what's the takeaway for founders here?
Yeah. So again, many of the founders I invest in are immigrants. They're fresh off the boat to the US, like I was once. And they're people who are out of central casting, but they're folks who have perseverance in spades. They live in a future version of the world in their heads, and they will try whatever it takes, to solve the problem they're obsessing with right now. So I do think, you're always one amazing connection away from introducing you to whoever is relevant for whatever you're doing. So do you care about fundraising? Just need to know one person, who's done it, who's friendly, has credibility with VCs to open a lot of the doors that matter. Are you somebody, who wants to figure out how to sell to OpenAI? Great. You need to find, somebody who has sold to them or worked, over there in the past. And this door, can open. And founders, what do they have? They have infectious enthusiasm and spades. So do I think it's attainable for every founder to find one amazing mentor to help them out and open doors? Yes. If anything, I think it's a trait of a great founder where you can get busy people who for some reason fall in love with you to do stuff for you for free. So that's something that I strongly recommend. And especially the Silicon Valley ethos, which is now very much also, a mindset globally, like of cold emailing and like there's this idea of like, I can help you, I can pay it forward. Why not leverage that, regardless of where you are, regardless of where you're getting started. And then on the flip side, I also now, the benefit of aging, I have seen so many people who just, like on the back of one relationship have built careers or even, companies or VC firms.
Yeah, wow.
And that's amazing to see. Like whoever started working with Elon Musk, earlier on in Elon's career, clearly, could have done nothing else. And there are entire venture capital firms, that have been built behind just working with Elon Musk, to mention one example, maybe the most extreme example.
Yeah, I love that. I call it increasing the surface area for luck to strike. So we've got very similar ideas here. And the final question.
Totally. And then many of the greats, like they started like a small company in the beginning that, wasn't like a massive success, but like whoever, managed to get in front of them, invest in them, join them, could have had a front row seat, for many years to come. Like Sam Altman's first company raised money and recruited people. Patrick and John Collison's, first company raised some money, recruited some people, got acquired for small money. Elon Musk's first companies do the same thing. Like, and just give you three examples. Some of the most notable entrepreneurs, money makers, change the world kind of, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, all the examples I gave, like got started from humble beginnings. Like Sam, yes, he went to Stanford, but he's not from the Bay Area. John and Patrick got started in Ireland. And I think the first company got acquired by Canadian. And then the Elon Musk got started from South Africa, right?
Yeah.
So amazing talent can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
As soon as you spot that kind of talent, regardless of where you sit, are you a software engineer? Are you like whatever you want to do, try to be with them and join them, like whatever, make the case for it.
Love it. Thanks so much for that. Final question in this section for me was what thematics are you most excited about? I saw General Catalyst just raised fund number 12. Congratulations with $8 billion. And I saw in there it was the thematics essentially were AI, defense, climate, energy, industrials, healthcare, and fintech. So quite wide actually. Is there anything in particular that you get really excited about?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. We're grateful for our LPs and the awesome portfolio founders we have who have enabled us to be able to raise more money. I'm a little bit of an odd case at GC because I'm a generalist, early stage investor. And for me, it's like obsessing with technical founders building for themselves. And to an extent, I don't care, what they're building. Sure, half of them right now have an AI flavor in whatever they're building, but it could be enterprise, could be fintech, could be consumer, could be crypto, could be frontier tech, could be whatever. But the way I look at the world is like either you're that kind of founder archetype, and I'm interested in your pre-seed or seed, or you're not, and I will introduce you to some of my other awesome, partners. And I would do 5 or 6 pre-seed or seed investments a year, and I would do 2 to 3 A's or early B's a year in the same kind of founder archetype, but most often with product market fit. That's how I see the world. Sure, if I could be investing in photo sharing apps for the rest of the time, I would be thrilled. However, the world has changed and the world doesn't necessarily need another photo sharing app.
Love that. Awesome. Well, I'm going to dive into some of those thematics in a second. So let's move on to part number 2, Aussies and Kiwis in the US. I'd love you to take to get your take on this one. Most people in the audience are essentially founders here in Australia and New Zealand. So I guess the first question that people always have on their mind is should they build their company in Australia or the US? And should they move or can they actually stay in Australia and New Zealand as well?
It's hard to generalize, but let me give some quick framework or an answer here. I think you gotta get started where you're comfortable with having access to your customers, and if your customers are right outside of your doorstep, great, you gotta be over that. If you are building for yourself and you're in the dev tools category, doesn't honestly matter much where you are. If you're somebody who wants to build for the financial service industry, it's a good idea to be in New York. For folks who want to come to SF, I would say SF is an amazing place. If you're the kind of person who only wants to talk and think about technology all day long, think about LLMs, SDKs, APIs, agents, whatever it is. If you want to only think about that stuff all day long, hang out only with other tech people, that's what you're craving, because wherever you are, you have always felt like an outsider. SF's a magical place because you're a nerd. You come to SF, you have top status. Nerds rule San Francisco. And it's many of them that come here from afar. It's the first time in their lives that they have validation, they're not the weirdos, and they have the highest status. So for that kind of person, just to experience that as a life experience, get connectivity, pay their dues, is SF a magical place? Yes. But if you're not craving, to only think and talk about tech and only hang out with other tech people, you don't need to be here. You can have connectivity here, but you don't need to be here. Secondly, where do I see a reason for founders to be in SF? If you're building technology for other tech startups and large tech companies, that's what the industry in San Francisco is all about. So the same way that you would move to New York to be in front of the financial services industry, that's the reason why you might want to have a presence or even move here if you only want to sell to other tech companies. And that's what I would say. Otherwise, I would go back to my previous answer. You're one amazing mentor away from having connectivity to anyone you know in Silicon Valley. And in today's world with Hacker News, TechCrunch, all the different blogs, seminars like this, you can learn more and embrace, the Silicon Valley mindset of building companies.
Yeah. And I want to double click on 2 points that you just mentioned there. The first one is actually the one around different cities are great at different things. And it's what you mentioned there as well, being close to your customers. Thinking about the different US cities, like which city is good for what? Like if I was going to think about moving.
Yeah. I think San Francisco is like freaking great for any company that's building, for other tech companies. I think New York is awesome for all things fintech, all things crypto. New York is also awesome for any of the European or the Israeli type of founders who want to open up an office in the US to conquer the American market. And I say that because the time zones also are more friendly for those, who happen to be getting started in Europe. Los Angeles is pretty great for what we call a GC Global Resilience. So manufacturing, defense, anything that requires a lot of, like space. And because LA has had a long tradition and history in like aerospace manufacturing, especially the area around SpaceX. This is like an awesome part of the world in this country to be building SaaS companies. If you want to do stuff in biotech, South San Francisco and Boston are probably the two best places not to be. And then you see some other cities in the US, like Austin and Seattle, that both have strong universities, strong academic companies that have hired, recruited, grown deep engineering talent pools, where you have awesome startup innovation, going on. And these two cities have a robust early stage VC network as well. So in Austin, you do see a number of the companies in the global resilience space, pop up. And then in Seattle, because you have such a deep, pool of Microsoft and Amazon, talent in particular, as well as, like many Silicon Valley tech companies like the Stripes of the world have like sizable offices there. You see many, like enterprise infrastructure companies getting built or have sizable presence there.
Yeah, wow. Geez, that was amazing. I didn't know there was so much nuance there as well. And one of the podcasts I listened to, I think, was with somebody from Greece, which was obviously where you originally are from. And you had an interesting line in there which said that you actually think that sometimes building from a small country is beneficial because of the mindset of it. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I do believe in that. So, like, if you come from a small country and you're very ambitious, unfortunately, you got to get out. But if you're coming from a small country and you want to build a startup, it's actually, great news because building for the local market, you won't really get paid. And you will realize sooner rather than later that it's a massive waste of time to be really, focusing all your time and energy, build a product and a team to serve the local market. And you see that very often with Israelis who, from day one, they really don't bother unless, it's something consumer facing to do anything for the local market, unlike some of the enterprise security or military stuff, especially after the October 7th event. But they go after serving the US market, from day one. So that is a blessing, I think, in disguise, that you can have this like worldly perspective be forced to serve a global market, because this means that you'll be able to attract capital, means you will be able to attract ambitious talent to come and join you. It means that you will have to be more extroverted from the very early days to reach out to mentors, as we were discussing before, and have connectivity with other, ecosystems. And I think New Zealand certainly, checks that box. The local market there is pretty tiny, and Australia, in many, many ways, also, checks that box because sure, the economy there is advanced, it's sizable, but it's not massive enough. You're not like India or like, China, where the local market is massive enough for you to do something incredible. So I do like, these characteristics of founders getting started in smaller countries.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a bit of motivation for everybody on the call, which is exciting. And final question here in this segment is then, what's the best way to approach somebody like yourself, like a US investor? We are a small country on the other side of the world. How do people find you, reach you? What's the best way?
They can cold email me or send me a note on LinkedIn or Twitter. My email is nico@journalcatalyst.com. I think most investors like myself are pretty visible and approachable online because all of us want to be community inclusive. If you, for whatever reason, cannot get hold of somebody like me, yeah, you're one amazing mentor away from connecting you with us. So what's the easiest way to get hold of any VC that you want? Make friends with one of their portfolio companies, and then you get the interest.
Love that.
And it's so easy for any founder to reach out to any other founder and then get some interest.
Yeah. And in terms of the email that you get from somebody who cold emails you, like what does incredible look like? I know that all the tips of what not to do, I've heard you talk about this a couple of times. Don't tell me you've got 300 years of experience, $1 trillion market. But what does incredible look like?
Short, sweet, straight into the point. So if it's like, hey, Niko, my name is Mary. I heard you be interested in technical founders who are building about themselves. Here's my LinkedIn profile. This is my team. We're exactly, doing that. If they want to send me an executive summary or pitch deck, the YC template of like how to put together a seed deck, 6-7 slides, pretty great. And ideally, I can read everything on my small iPhone screen. And it's not one that I need to download, like 100, gigabyte file, or it's not one that I need to input 15 passwords, too much security to get access to whatever document is over there. Like I get it. 120 to 150 founders every day reaching out to get hold of GC. I'm very privileged, to be in that position on behalf of the firm. And I read every single email.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. All right. Well, in that case, let's move into part number 3 for today. Themes. Let's actually, you mentioned a couple of themes already. I wanted to kick us off with consumer. Most VCs shy away from consumer, whereas you've actually invested in some awesome companies, including Snapchat and Discord. So what excites you about consumer? Yeah.
So I'm going back into consumer investing again over the last couple of years. I'm very excited about it for the following host of reasons. First off, we have a brand new generation of consumers that have come online and have access to disposable income. So we have the Gen Zers who have different, preferences than those before them. Now, the oldest Gen Zers are approaching their late 20s and they have access to disposable income. And they want, frankly, be keen on just using and buying from the same brand as those before them. You also have the Gen Alpha generation. So for anyone who is building stuff in gaming or in the attention economy, like media stuff, we're the most time-rich consumers today. Young Gen Zers and Gen Alpha. And again, they are very different than those before them. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know if you're spending time with like Gen Z founders, but in many ways, they're like aliens who are conquering the planet, one person at a time. They're a lot more ruthless and pragmatic than the touchy-feely millennials before them. The ones who know how to speak TikTok or Discord can make it rain with user acquisition. This is a unique superpower. Um, thirdly, they've been very keen on many of them making money from a very young age. They were hustling during the NFT era. They were trading sneakers online as teenagers. They were making money on through RuneScape servers or through skins while they were playing games as younger folks. They're very different, than those before them. And I do very much, love that. The next reason is very few people are interested in consumer nowadays to either start companies or to invest in companies. While this sucks for anyone who is stubborn and brave enough to start something in the space, it's also great news. Why is that? Less competition, more time to figure things out. Last thing you want as you are in flight, as soon as you're in flight with something in the early days, is to have 10 copycats just do the same thing as you are. So now you have some more time to figure things out. This is like freaking great. And by the way, you're not going to have competition who's going to be inflating, the prices or acquiring customers. You don't either. And then last reason to mention is the AI stuff. So with AI, you can reimagine a lot of consumer products and services. And normally, young brains with unhinged imagination are better at imagining stuff than older people. And we're seeing it now with several of the AI products. If anything, the most successful AI company of the last few years is a consumer company, ChatGPT.
Totally.
And you see ChatGPT grows the most during the school year because kids, students all over the world use it for homework help.
Yeah, it's wild. The growth of ChatGPT has been absolutely incredible. And what about the early days of a consumer company? Like when do you what do they do really well, or when do you see magic there?
In the early days of a consumer company are often very messy because the founders get started, they have an idea in mind, the first idea doesn't work, or they're just about to give up in idea number three, but then something happens and they start seeing some growth. And then unfortunately, the retention is not good. But idea number seven, which sounds like the silliest one of all, that most people will be like, this would never work. Somehow starts working and it starts feeling like Christmas Day every day. Product is buggy. You get a ton of I hate you. Your product really sucks kind of email, but please fix A, B, and C because I cannot live without your product. You buy a ticket to go and do New Year's Eve in Sydney. You don't touch the code base for a few weeks because you stay in Australia for longer since you left it there. You come back to wherever you are, and things are 3 times better, bigger in terms of user base and engagement. And the company starts succeeding in spite of you. That's how the early days of a consumer company might look like. But it's a ton of blood, sweat, and tears in the first many, many, many months. Unlikely that you strike gold with your first product idea. Often, many of your co-founders or early employees will abandon you because you will have to pivot so many times, to do something new.
Yeah, love that. I think you mentioned also the story of when you met the Snapchat founder for the first time. What you loved about him is that he said, I want every person who opens Snap to smile.
Yeah.
What did you like about that? Why did it resonate?
hadn't heard it from anyone else before that. Yeah. And that's a powerful feeling. Make people feel good about themselves, right? Why wouldn't they want to use your product more? Why wouldn't they want to share it with their friends? Back then, by the way, too, he was a student at Stanford, just about to drop out. His co-founder and CTO had a full-time job to be able to pay for the infrastructure, costs of the company in the early days.
Yeah. I love
Crazy
that
if you think about it.
yeah, it's such a powerful product and customer obsession, which I love. So cool. Well, another theme that I wanted to pick up was actually healthcare, because you also had such an awesome take that I've never heard before. Because in most industries, people always want to invest in creating new markets. And I think you had the perspective of in healthcare, you don't want to necessarily create a new market, but you want to own the existing market. I don't know if you remember this point, but yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how do you look at healthcare?
Yeah. So like we have a little bit of a, how to put it, messed up point of view as healthcare investors because 90% of what we do in healthcare is here in the US. And the healthcare uh, market is massive. It's like over 20% of the US GDP, one of the fastest growing. And what unfortunately makes most consumers go bankrupt here in the US, and unfortunately, what might, make the country go bankrupt too. So we are like um, trying to make some change here. And because the healthcare market is so massive, we don't need, to create money out of thin air. We just need to partner with founders who have a point of view about increasing the quality of the experience or the services they're offering for consumers, the patients, and the stakeholders involved, but also take cost out of the equation. However, in healthcare, it's hard, to go and find like three YC founders who are going to make a dent with the first product without knowing anyone in healthcare. You're better off to have a team member who has been in the industry for a while, has street cred and a Rolodex of other people that she or he has sold products to, and will give, as a result, the benefit of the doubt to this new product. Okay, we'll be a design partner. Yes, we'll give you access to data. Yes, we'll give you an insurance billing code. Like all these things that otherwise, if you're a newcomer, it takes months, if not many years, to just get into the system. If you have like a co-founder who comes from that space, can make a hell of a difference. And over time, of course, you want to do the right thing because that's part of your mission. That's part of your vision. You want to improve the quality of outcomes, and you want to take cost out of the equation.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that perspective. It's as in like I've never heard this one before, but it makes a lot of sense when you say it out loud like this. All right, I've got one more theme I wanted to touch on, and then we're gonna go into Slido questions by all of our founders. So everybody, please jump into the chat and upvote any questions you'd like me to ask, and also put in anything else. The last theme I want to touch on was actually nuclear fusion. I saw General Catalyst led a $900 million round into Pacific Fusion. And the interesting thing is, like, I've also been seeing way more nuclear fusion startups than I've ever seen before. So I'm just really curious of like, why now? And why do you think that is the case?
Yeah. Um, all of us, want to have access to more and more energy and to do so in a more sustainable way and to do so in a cheaper way. And things are getting better. Like after now many decades of investments in renewable sources, um, you do have days in California, my home country in Greece, where electricity basically gets produced for free, or like you have a few hours, on certain days that this happens. And that's great because in a world where, many of the AI models are so power hungry, or in a world where if you want to make money in crypto, it becomes harder to mine the next Bitcoin. In a world where we have so many developing countries where we need to raise the standard of living, and the cost of energy is prohibitive, or the new world order with the trend of deglobalization, where we can't have access to cheap gas and oil from Russia. We got to do something about all these things. And fusion has been the holy grail and the in the sphere of imagination for many, like decades, like pretty much a century for now. And there have been, for anyone who has been following, some scientific advancements over the last, few years here in the US that gave an array of hope, where in a very, very, very small scale, you actually, can do it in a viable way. So we decided to partner with some of those, pioneering scientists, and get behind them alongside some other awesome people. Bring on board Eric Langer, one of the most notable scientists and MIT professors, prolific also inventor in the field of biology, to help lead that effort, and coalesce with so many other fantastic funders, because that's not going to be a cheap endeavor. I hope it succeeds. It might take, much longer than the traditional VC time frame of like, okay, you raise some money, you have a couple of years to find product market fit, and then have a few more years to scale your good market motion. And then, if you're lucky, you get acquired or you go public. This will take more because, anything that you do in energy, you have to deal with like the infrastructure build-up. So it's a little bit like infrastructure project financing at times. But, if you want to do something in investing in fusion, now is better than any other time before. Is there a chance that we might find out that it's like a decade too early? Yes, there's a chance.
Yeah. Oh my God.
As it was the case, with anyone who was investing in clean tech 10, 15 years ago, they found out, unfortunately, that they were too early.
Yeah. I mean, I love the scale and ambition of this. This is so awesome. That's exactly what we will need in the future. All right, jumping into the Slidos. Lots and lots of questions in there, and I'm gonna literally kick off with the top voted ones, which is from Saad. And essentially your thoughts about the European innovation system, in particular the different cities or hubs like Zurich, Lisbon, Madrid, or Berlin, for example. Like, what are what are your thoughts there of what they are good for, or what's not so good about them?
Yeah, I would say the following things, Europe has more developers than the US. That's great. Europe has a ton more like papers, especially in biology, than the US. And there's incredible talent, in the continent. And because, in many ways, there's a lot of bureaucracy. Not all the economies there are doing well, especially, post-Ukraine. Europe has been hit pretty hard. Ambitious people want to create opportunity for themselves and their families and those around them. And that's actually great news for the startup and the innovation economy. Europeans are realizing that, oh shit, we can't rely on the Americans for defense. We got to do something about it. GC invested in housing and other companies there. Or Europeans are realizing, oh, we lost the software, revolution to Americans. We lost the internet revolution to Americans. We can't afford to miss out on the AI stuff. And that's why you've seen, companies like GC backed Mistral and other, companies like Bullside, etc., get started out of Europe. So do I think it's a great time now for founders to get started out of Europe? Yes, I do think so. Is it a very fragmented startup ecosystem? It is. It's not like, here where in the US, the bulk of the action is in SF or New York and everyone's building for the same market. In Europe, if you're succeeding in Germany, honestly, it means very little about you succeeding in the UK. So we like London for all things, fintech. We love Israel for all things defense tech, enterprise security, some fintech, and then gaming. We do love Paris for AI, and Paris has like awesome, like developer, talent. And then some very early consumer stuff. There are artists over there. And then we like Germany for all things supply chain, industrials, and companies that are serving, the core pillars of the German economy. Are there now incredible founders who could be getting started in other smaller ecosystems, like in Stockholm or in Zurich? Yes, but we're talking about exceptions here.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's actually really interesting to hear those themes like that. All right, second question we've got in here is very much on mind of all those Aussie and Kiwi founders, which is early stage startups who don't have US customers or revenue. Can they still raise large rounds in the US?
Well, the definition of a large round for somebody who's not in the US might be $3 to $5 million without traction. But for somebody in the US, $3 to $5 million without traction is not a large round. It depends on your definition. Is it easy, for somebody to raise, 3, 5, 10 outside of the US without traction? No, it's not easy. Is it more likely if you're in a hot market like AI the last couple of years? Yes. Is it more likely if you're an unbelievable self-promoter and storyteller? Yes, it's more likely. Can you learn how to become a self-promoter, an amazing storyteller? You can learn that. Is it more likely if you have access to very well-connected people, like the mentors we talked about, who can done this before, can whisper to the right ears what you want to do, increase your odds of success? Yes, it's more likely. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
But assume it's hard, and you will hear a lot of no's, but every no you hear gets you closer to a yes. And it's better to start with, you want to raise, 3 million, it's better to start on raising 1.5 if you don't have much to show for, and with interest to increase, the amount.
Yeah, actually, to double click on this one, how many first pitches from founders do you take on Zoom versus in person? Like, what's the rough percentage split?
I do meet with 15 to 20 companies every week. 6, 7 of them for me personally as a lead investor, the rest with other teammates from GC. Most of them are a second meeting, for the founder with GC. And about half of the first meetings I do with other GC teammates as a first meeting are on Zoom.
Yeah, right. Interesting. So it does bridge that gap to Australia and New Zealand as well, which is great to hear.
Yeah.
All right. And the final question then is about a pitch. And what's the one thing somebody has said or done during a pitch, which then moved through from like a hell no or a no decision into an instant yes, if there's one thing that somebody has said or done that really persuaded you, being like, oh my God, I have to invest now?
I can't say that like in recent years at least, I've been an instant no for any of the meetings I take. And if anything, what I've learned in this business is to go into every single meeting with my eyes and ears wide open. And yes, I do have opinions about somebody's product and market, but I keep them to myself. Because in particular, as I was saying in the beginning of the conversation, for early stage, like projects, the products change, the market change when the founders are incredible. So what I'm trying to answer in a meeting with a group of founders is if they're as impressive as they sound today, how much more impressive could they be 3-4 years from today? And if the initial product, sucks, doesn't matter what I think. They're impressive and they can learn quickly. They themselves will figure it out. The initial market opportunity is not good enough. Again, doesn't matter what I think. They themselves, will probably figure it out in a short period of time. So that's what I'm trying to answer. And it's not like, oh man, this is like a terrible idea, but for some reason I'm taking the meeting literal. Maybe, to answer this question with an example from 3 years ago, where I had the mindset of, I don't think we'll do this, but, a good friend of mine asked me to meet them. Let's give them a hearing and see. I had that mindset before. Now I don't have that mindset. Is a company called BirdBuddy. So BirdBuddy is a high-resolution internet connected camera that you load it up with bird seeds. You mount it in your garden or porch, and then they come. The birds show up to eat the seeds, and you receive a push notification to your phone with a high-resolution photo or video of the bird eating. And photos are incredible. And by the way, this is, of course, 2024, an AI-first company. It can not only tell you what kind of bird that is, but it can also tell you if it's the same robin that visited you yesterday, because you want to know. And you want to know because your seeds are better than the neighbors, and you're competing with them. So this company is called BirdBuddy. We invested in them 3 years ago. And when I got the intro, I was like, there's no chance, we'd be doing such an investment. But then another person also pinged me about it, and he was like, you gotta meet those guys. So I met the founder, insane, infectious enthusiasm. If there was somebody, who would know more about, bird watching and loving, birds, I just couldn't envision, how that other person could be more enthusiastic about this founder. So I just couldn't say no to him. And then I introduced him to 3 of my other partners over a series of couple more meetings. I was like, guys, you gotta help me figure out a way to say a no to these companies. But none of us, could. And we're coming out of every meeting. What if he's right? How big could it be? And fast forward, a couple of years later, they've sold over $100 million worth of product. And this is the category leader and category creator here in the market. And we'll see how it goes.
Oh my God, what a story. That's such a good story to end with. I love that infectious enthusiasm. Thank you so much, Niko. It was great to chat.
Of course, Michael, thank you. My pleasure. I appreciate everyone's attention and interest. Feel free to reach out to StartMate. Feel free to reach out to GC. Here to support.
Thanks so much, Niko. Hopefully
Thank
see you
you.
soon in San Francisco.
Yes, please ping me anytime or when I come to Australia too.
Perfect. Definitely let us know.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Bye.
See ya.